the fate.
This is the way. Truth is, I am Iron Man.
Tells me when you'll remember this.
Hello, critics, non-critics, and friends. Welcome to the Film Optix podcast, where we take a glance into blockbusters, indie films, and everything in between. I'm your host, Christian, and as always, I'm joined by my good friend / my co-host, Devin. And today, we're here to give our last review of the year 2022. Our last podcast episode of the year. We're going to be giving our thoughts and insights on Puss in Boots, The Last Wish. And before we begin today's episode, you can listen to our podcast on podcast platforms around the internet. That includes Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Audible, and more. And if you are a new or seasoned listener to the show, we would love to hear from you guys. Follow us on Instagram and follow us on Twitter at Film Optix. That is Optix with an X. Or you can email us at filmoptix@gmail.com for any movie-related questions. Devin, we've made it to the end of the road. How's your week been, buddy? What have you been watching as of late? You been catching up with some TV shows, catching up with some movies, or just straight chilling?
Yeah, I've had the week off, so I've had a good amount of time to just chill out. I finished Andor finally. It took a little while. It didn't enthrall me as much as I've seen reactions for on Twitter, but I definitely do appreciate overall. It kind of gives you more of an appreciation as to why the Empire is so hated. Like, they are not good people, and it shows that.
Oh, man, but Anakin was supposed to bring peace, justice, and security to his new empire.
No, I don't think that happened. I also watched A Christmas Story Christmas, which was all right. And then I also watched, did you know there's a Christmas Story too?
Yes, I did know that, but I have no desire to watch it.
Starring Daniel Stern from Home Alone.
Really?
As the dad.
Oh, so it's like a totally different family?
No, it's the same family, but it's just 5 years later, and they just made him the dad.
Oh,
it's really bad.
That reminds me of, I think they made a Christmas Vacation too, but I hear it's horrible, so I just didn't even bother watching it. But that also reminds me of Home Alone 4. And I know I've been bringing up Home Alone a lot within these past few weeks here on the show, but Home Alone 4 stars Kevin McAllister. It is Kevin, but it's obviously not the same actor.
They got a new actor for Ralphie in Christmas Story 2, and it is rough. It does not look right.
Did you watch A Christmas Story 2 like recently, or?
I watched it after A Christmas Story Christmas. Oh, they're both on HBO Max. So I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot.
Oh, that's right. It is. Wait, did you watch Unaccompanied Minors?
I did not.
You need to, Devin. You're going to love it. I know you're going to love it. It's so good. Anyone out there listening, Unaccompanied Minors, if you know what I'm talking about, is a fantastic Christmas movie. You can stream it on HBO Max as well. But yeah, for me, when it comes to, watching, I finally finished Doom Patrol Season 3. Because I watched the first 5 episodes when Season 3 first hit. I got screeners for them and I wrote an article for them. And I was waiting for, I already saw the first 5 episodes. So as it was being released week to week on HBO Max, I was waiting for them to, catch up so I can watch the last 5 episodes, episodes 6 through 10. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't even, I got distracted and, life kind of just happened. So I was able to go back. And I remember a few things from episodes 1 through 5, but I decided to start from episode 1 onward. In hindsight, I probably could have just done episode 6 through 10, but you know me, I love me some Doom Patrol. But I've been watching that. I watched Love Actually the other day. Absolutely love that movie. I need to watch the Christmas Binge movie that's on Hulu.
Yeah, none of us have even heard of it somehow.
Because we covered The Binge here on the show when it first came. I think it was 2020. And, we saw that article of Christmas movies that are leaving Hulu. And it said A Christmas Binge. I'm like, I wonder if that's the same thing. And I looked up the trailer. And sure enough, it was the same franchise, same universe. So I was like, oh my gosh, that's so crazy. So I'm like, I got to watch that. I watched Happiest Seasons, of course. Got to do my yearly rewatch of that. I need to watch Holiday Inn. I think, The Holiday with Kate Winslet and Jack Black and a few. I'm blanking on the other woman's name. But yeah, I got to watch The Holiday, and I got to watch so many Christmas movies. It's crazy. I'm watching his Dark Materials right now, watching a lot of stuff while also trying to beat God of War Ragnarok so I can move on to the next game, Final Fantasy Crisis Core 7. So there's a lot going on, but by gum, I'm going to try to get through it all.
Yeah, I've been playing Hades. I recently started that. What a great game. Like, I saw this sequel got announced, and I was like, all right, I'll pick it up. And then I put it in probably like 12 hours this weekend, just going at it.
Matt was a big advocate for that game. I remember him talking about how good that game was. And I think we got it through Epic Games Store at some points for free. I have it on one of my PC libraries altogether, but yeah, I hear it's really good. I'm just trying to chip my way through God of War. This always happens when I play like a big open world RPG. Like I spend too much time in it doing all these extra side quests, and I never get to the main side quests. I'm like, I need my slate clean so when Hogwarts Legacy comes out, I can just focus on that. So, but yeah, it's been crazy. But ladies and gentlemen, I know that was a bit of a tangent there for both of us. We're just, it's our last episode of the year. So we're kind of just cruising on by. But as we mentioned before, we will be reviewing Puss in Boots, The Last Wish. So Devin, are you ready to jump back into the land of far, far away?
Last review, last wish.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back after this introduction to Puss in Boots, The Last Wish.
The wishing star is in here somewhere. Kitty, may I please see the map?
No.
Seriously? You won't let me hold it for even 1 minute?
Nope. Not even for 1 second.
Come on, Kitty. You've got to trust me.
Wait, what's going on with his eyes? Oh, they're getting bigger. Oh, Kitty! You gotta trust him. Look at those eyes.
Really? You call that cute?
Oh, look at her. Those eyes are even bigger than yours. Do whatever she wants, Puss. Wait a second. So poofy. No. With the paws? Come on. With the hat? It's oh so cute. Cute.
Can we look at the map now?
And we are back with our Puss in Boots, The Last Wish review here on the show. So the way that this is going to go, if you're new here, welcome. We usually get into our initial reactions of the film that we were talking about first, which is our non-spoiler section. Then we get into spoilers, and we usually let you guys know with this little bad boy that we're about to get into spoilers, but not just yet. And then we're going to get into a little bit of trivia along the way, then give our final thoughts and our ratings of this animated masterpiece, dare I say, because wow, this was very, very good. And the directors of this movie is co-directors by Joel Crawford and Januel Mercado. And the writers include Tommy Swerdlow and Tom Wheeler and Paul Fisher, and stars Antonio Banderas, Salma Hayek, and John Mulaney and Harvey Guillén, just to name a few. And the story is as follows. Puss in Boots discovers that his passion for adventure has taken its toll. He has bumped through 8 of his 9 lives. So Puss sets out on an epic journey to find the mystical last wish and restore his 9 lives. So let's get into our initial reactions here. Devin, what did you think about this film?
Yeah, I went in definitely blind, never saw the original movie, and then apparently there's a Netflix series, which I think had like 70 episodes, so definitely did not watch any of that. But yeah, there's a lot of Puss in Boots out there, but this seems like it's kind of a reset for the series from what I can tell, because they definitely changed some things up. But yeah, I went in not seeing the original ones, and also my screening was absolutely packed. Like there was not a single seat available. Apparently they had a mix-up where they were just sending out free tickets, and then they sent out too many, so then people were just showing up, and there weren't any seats left. So it was definitely interesting, but took my sister. We had a good time. It's just a surprisingly good movie to end off this year. Like, did not really expect anything from this. Of course, we love the Shrek universe. It's kind of like our childhood, and it kind of ended off in 2012 was Shrek Forever After. I don't even remember watching it. I might not have watched it, but the first three Shreks just kind of had that magical feeling where you can just tell like a classic's being created. And the memes have just lived on forever. They just don't go away. Shrek is love. Shrek is life. But yeah, this one, I haven't seen the first movie, but from what I can tell, they definitely mixed some things up here. They went with more of a animation style similar to Into the Spider-Verse, which is very welcomed. It definitely helps with the action scenes. It kind of brings it more to the screen. You can see more of the action on screen and kind of give Puss in Boots a more larger-than-life feel than he normally would have. And just kind of, I think it's good for them to mix things up and try to bring something fresh to this universe, and I think they definitely did that. A lot of great characters here. John Mulaney's great. Obviously, Antonio Banderas and Salma Hayek. Apparently, Salma Hayek's character was introduced in their first movie, so that's good to know. Might have to go back and watch it, but yeah, it's just a good, fun movie. Interesting premise. Some creative character decisions. Can't forget Florence Pugh in there. She's going full on British. A lot of oys. Oi.
Oi!
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 A lot of those in this one, but yeah, I mean, it looks great. The animation style they went with. I'm glad the Spider-Verse style is catching fire and becoming so popular because it deserves it, because it's so amazing to watch, and it definitely helps to bring a more thematic and action-packed movie.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you there. So I was actually looking up on Letterboxd. So there's the Puss in Boots movie that came out in 2011. Haven't seen that either. And I see that there's the Puss in Boots. It's Puss in Boots Trapped in an Epic Tale. I believe that is the Netflix series. But there's also on here, it's called Puss in Boots. This came out in 2012. I believe this is another movie. It's called The Three Diablos.
I think that one's just a short. I think that one's just like a 13-minute short.
Okay. So Puss in Boots 2011 movie, it's directed by Chris Miller.
Interesting.
Yeah. And he also directed Shrek the Third. But as far as my initial reactions go, I was blown away, much like Devin. I was not expecting this to be. All
right, so it's Chris Miller, but it's not that Christopher Miller, like
I know,
Lord and Miller.
Yeah,
I had to double check, but it's still a Chris Miller.
Yeah, it's another Miller. Another Miller is great in my book, but personally, I it's so weird how something like this came from DreamWorks. Not saying that DreamWorks is a subpar animation studio. It's just usually when people think about these CGI animated movies, it's usually Disney. I mean, DreamWorks has had their fair share of animated films as well. Obviously, like we mentioned with Shrek and How to Train Your Dragon series, and they've had some heavy hitters, but I didn't know this was coming out.
I don't usually think fondly on DreamWorks as far as just the content they put out. Even like their opening intro to this movie, they had obviously Minions. Like that's kind of the big one that people think of, and that's kind of why it gets a negative connotation at times. But then they had Boss Baby, just a bunch of random different ones.
Is Minions DreamWorks?
Yeah, it's Universal DreamWorks.
Oh, okay. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, like Devin has said, it's stunning animation, especially the fight scenes. That's what it really seems to borrow from that Spider-Verse, type of animation. But it's so funny. It's action packed. It's an amazing adventure with these fantastic heart and creativity scenes just packed in. And I mean, we'll talk about the big spoiler later on, because I personally feel like this is the best, like, I guess you could put this in the Shrek universe. I think this is the best Shrek film since Shrek 2, or the Shrek universe altogether, because I've not had this much fun with these characters in a while. And I do want to go back and watch the 2011 version. I'll have to add that to my list for sure.
I take that back. It's not DreamWorks that did Minions. That's Illumination, but it's all under Universal. So that's what I was thinking. Okay. So yeah, I see what you're saying. But yeah, I mean, great new characters in this movie. Like you said, Florence Pugh, she's going full British. We also get some amazing Olivia Colman is in this as well. She plays one of the three bears. Yeah, I was interested when I saw that in the credits. I was like, that's who that is.
Yeah, because I was wondering the entire time. I'm like, well, maybe it's not Olivia Colman. But I'm like, I don't know. It could be. She just has that, like, there's like the British accent, but her accent, her dialect is so distinct. And I was going through the credits. I'm like, okay, yeah, it was her. But yeah, this movie it's so good. I think it's fantastic for the entire family. I want to watch this again. And I actually might. I was not able to, unfortunately, I was not able to watch this in theaters. I was sent a screener of it for your consideration purposes, but I might actually go back and watch this, because this is a really great movie. And like, I mean, Devin knows how much I love animation. We both love animation, but this movie was just, it's about Puss trying to, he's not necessarily, well, he's dying in a way when he thinks he's dying, but it's just him saying, hey, you're getting older. You can't go on these crazy adventures anymore. You can't be as reckless as you used to be in your youth. And, cats have 9 lives, and he's been pretty reckless with his. He's got a bit of an ego, but, he has some new friends to help him guide him on the right path. And of course, John Mulaney as well. We got some great villains in this one. That's kind of what makes it work so well. It's you got 2 great villains here, and John Mulaney, who plays, I'd never heard of this fairy tale, but he plays Jack Horner. Did you ever hear of that before going into this? It sounds kind of sort of familiar.
My dad heard of it, but me and my sister had not heard of it. But it's apparently from the 1700s. So it's like, it goes way back. Jack Horner sat in a corner and it's like put his thumb in a pie. And
I've heard that somewhere I've heard that.
But yeah, for somehow his voice just fits perfectly with that large man. That doesn't really make sense, but it just works.
It does just work. I mean, even the opening scene of the movie where, Puss is just like kicking butt and taking names. Like, I was like, wow, it's just from start to finish. There's so many great emotional beats in this movie as well. The animation, like we mentioned before, this is really great.
I also love what they did with Big Bad Wolf. Like, that was really clever. And it honestly kind of scary. Like, for kids especially, some of those scenes might be a bit too much, depending on how young they are.
That whistling?
Yeah, the whistling and the music, like, it's creepy.
It was pretty creepy. I mean, you have that's right. So yeah, so Olivia Colman was Mama Bear, Samson Kayo was Baby Bear, and then Wagner Moura was the Big Bad Wolf. He did such a great job. I do agree. It's one of those movies where the villain is it's just a little bit too scary for kids. Like, even on like the initial poster with all the characters on it, you see him lurking there in the background, and like that just looks so haunting.
The whistles and his little hooks, like, and his hoodie, and it's all just works.
It really does. And of course, we have Perro,
Perrito.
Perrito. I'm sorry. Of course, you have like the comical, like, he's kind of the comical relief character, but like everyone has their comedic moments. So I feel like the comedy aspect is shared around the entire cast, and Salma Hayek as well. She's done a great job as Kitty Softpaws, because Kitty Softpaws is declawed, hence her name, Kitty Softpaws. But yeah, I forgot that Florence Pugh was in this movie, and I was like, wow, it must be so much fun to voice these animated characters and just have a ball.
I also just love the concept of just bringing these random groups of people into the same end goal, and they end up meeting each other at the end with different goals, but then they kind of come together in a way.
Right. But also, it obviously it is within the Shrek universe. So like you do see these fairy tales that are interacting with each other, and we get these different adaptations of these fairy tales as well.
Couple cameos here and there from some ones we love.
For sure. I mean, even like you said with Jack Horner, the story sounds somewhat familiar, but
yeah, even not knowing what it is, like the character comes on screen and you just know what it's about, and they could do a good job of making fun of him and his upbringing, where he was gifted a multi-million-dollar company and that just wasn't enough for him.
No, his father gave him a small loan of $1 million.
Yeah, pretty familiar there.
But Jack Horner has big hands. So that's one difference. Other than that, hey, all I'm saying is I've never seen them in the same room. But of course, and we also had a nice little appearance from Jiminy Cricket.
Is that what that was supposed to be? Just up on your shoulder, giving you advice? Who was that voice? I forgot to look at that.
I'm looking at the cast right now. I'm not seeing.
Ethical Bug was Kevin McCann.
Okay, yeah, Ethical Bug. Okay, I just saw that. So
He sounded familiar, but I guess not.
I guess, yeah, it sounded like someone I've heard from before, but I guess not. But overall, we've been gushing about this. Honestly, I can't really think of like a single negative thing. And obviously, when we do review these movies, it's as important to kind of, not talk about the things that don't necessarily work, but, making movies is hard altogether. And of course, Antonio Banderas has been voicing Puss in Boots for God knows, like since Shrek 2, since his introduction in Shrek 2. So
this movie just kind of brought me back into the Shrek world, like brought back that wonder. Like even as an adult, when you look back at Shrek, you kind of realize just how clever it all is. Just bringing in together a bunch of fairy tales that you wouldn't expect to mesh together, and some original characters here and there, like Shrek and Donkey, obviously, but it's just so clever. And then you make Antonio Banderas Puss in Boots, and it's basically Zorro. Like, that's just perfect casting.
Yeah. There's actually been a lot of other movies about Puss in Boots. Not the Shrek, the DreamWorks Puss in Boots, but there's a few out there. I was actually looking through Letterboxd about that. I was like, oh, wow, there's a lot more versions of this character than I actually realized, to be completely honest. But let's get into the spoiler section here really quick, because we got to talk about the big surprise, of course. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is your first spoiler warning for Puss in Boots: The Last Wish again. That is your second warning for Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. So if you haven't seen it, we cannot recommend this enough. Like, honestly, I think this is definitely, I think this is my second favorite animated movie of the year. Turning Red's good as well, but I loved this movie. Like, I want to watch this again, like, immediately altogether. Pinocchio, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio being number one. If you haven't seen that yet, Devin, definitely watch it, because it is fan-freaking-tastic. But let's get into our spoiler section here. So the big reveal at the end of the movie is that, Puss in Boots, he reconciles with his friends, but they journey to far, far away. So hopefully we'll get a Shrek 5. I love how this sets up for Shrek 5 if they want to go.
You thinking requel? That's what I'm thinking.
I think so.
They could start after, maybe even after Shrek 2. Like, I don't remember Shrek 3 or Shrek Forever After or how they were received, but could just skip right over those if they wanted to.
Yeah, I think they could. I think they can go from Shrek 1 to Shrek 2 and then start a new journey, kind of a different timeline, if you will, much like the Halloween franchise has unfortunately done, because there's too many of those. But seeing that timeline actually kind of makes sense, where it's like, hey, if you watch Shrek 1 and 2, and then depending on which order or which timeline you want to follow, it kind of like breaks off from there. But yeah, I'm thinking requel. I'm thinking requel, because I can't remember exactly what happened in Shrek 3 or 4, like you said, Devin. I remember the first two very fondly, especially. I mean, they're both great, but I think Shrek 2 has a beat. I think it was the better sequel. I think it was. But yes, it does set up things for Shrek 5 and essentially Puss in Boots 3 altogether. So I believe this is the second Puss in Boots movie. I think the other two were shorts. I don't know.
There's only been one movie, and then a Netflix series, and then a short.
Okay, so yeah, so it could set up Shrek 5 / Puss in Boots 3 altogether. Or Puss in Boots 3 would happen after Shrek 5. I like that a lot. I wish we got like a Pinocchio, like the DreamWorks
Gingerbread Man spinoff.
Yes, that would be fantastic. But yeah, that's like the big spoiler. You know, we want people to go watch this movie. We don't want to give any of the story beats away, but it is hilarious. And I think everyone should watch it. So let's get into our final thoughts and then our ratings here. So Devin, what are your final thoughts on Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and what would you rate this movie?
Also, just wanted to mention, Perito is just Yoshi.
Yoshi! He basically
my dog Yoshi specifically, but
oh yeah, your dog Yoshi, yeah, absolutely,
very
cat-like,
manged and cat-like, and not the prettiest to look at. The rub my belly part was probably the funniest.
Yeah, that was pretty. Of course, the cat lady was pretty hysterical too. So,
yeah,
wow, that is a lot of cats. But yeah, so yeah, let's get to our final thoughts and ratings here. So Darren, what are your final thoughts and ratings of this movie?
Yeah, final thoughts. I'm just glad to be back in the Shrek universe. It brings on the nostalgia while also trying something new, which I'm glad they did. They went with the more Spider-Verse style, and I think it really worked here. Because you don't really think of action when you think of Shrek or even Puss in Boots, but they pulled it off here. There were some really cool looking scenes. There were parts where I was kind of wishing it was more frames. Like there's a couple scenes where it's like kind of visible when there's lower frames than what possibly could be, but that just could be either a visual choice or just kind of technology hasn't caught up yet. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm glad to see it. And as far as review goes, a few minor issues here and there, but I'd give it like a solid 85. Like just kind of just surprisingly and unexpectedly, just one of the best animated movies of the year.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. I gave it a 4.5 stars on Letterboxd, so that would probably equate to around a 90 for me. But I echo everything that Devin said. When it comes to animation style, beautiful. I think when it does kind of like chop it up for the action sequences, I think that was to kind of give the audience away, like, okay, like this is what's happening. So it's not like happening too fast to where you're like, okay, wait, I need to go back and, watch that again. But I do agree, altogether, it only seems to happen during the action scenes where it has that jittery frame rate. And it's not a bad thing. It's just, I think it's easier, especially for kids, to watch to see what's going on. But I think this is probably DreamWorks' most aesthetically pleasing movie they've had since like How to Train Your Dragon 3. I think How to Train Your Dragon 3 really shined when it came to the animation.
They also do the bad guys, because apparently that's a similar style as well.
Oh, did they really? Okay, so yeah, I did not.
I was asking if they did.
Oh, if
yeah, that is also that's DreamWorks as well. So yeah, that's apparently I've been seeing bad guys, but apparently it's a similar style.
I got you. My bad, everyone. Yeah. I've not seen that movie, but it does look like fun. I kind of thought that they made that movie just because there was a song by Billie Eilish called Bad Guys, and they used that song in the movie for like the promotional material. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see if that rings true. But yeah, overall, those are our final thoughts and ratings for Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, aka the last episode here of 2022 for the Film Optix podcast. So that concludes this year. We're done, Devin. We have done it. We did it, Devin.
What a year.
Did. What a freaking year. Absolutely love it. So many movies, so many TV shows watched. And honestly, I don't think next year is going to be any kinder to us when it comes to, there's so much hitting next year, especially in January, much like this year. Like the top of this year, we had like Scream and Euphoria season 2. There was just so much going on. And next year, it's going to be a lot for video games and for movies and TV. There's a lot. So we'll just have to gear up. But as we mentioned before, since this is our last episode of 2022, like I said, we are taking a 2-week hiatus to kind of just recharge our batteries. You know, we can't just keep doing this forever. We need time off too. So we're going to treat ourselves to a nice little 2-week vacation. Maybe we'll just, we'll go to the Poconos or to Mexico or Cancun or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, wherever Puss in Boots was at the beginning.
Yeah, seriously. It was like Del Mar or something like that. I can't remember. But we will be returning in 2023, the week of January 15th, to kick off the Last of Us series. We will be covering that week to week as of right now. That is the plan. And hopefully we kind of just go from there. That Velma series is also coming out. So I'm just saying, I'm actually kind of excited for that. But yeah, we'll be coming back next year, 2023, week of January 15th, everybody. So that concludes today's episode. And if you like what you heard on today's episode, please subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast platform of choice. And follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Film Optix. That is Optix with an X to stay in the know. And as always, we ask our listeners out there to share an episode of our podcast with a friend, whether it be your mother, your brother, your lover, or your significant other. Make sure to share an episode of the Film Optix podcast with a movie lover in need. And really quick, what's out right now for you to go back and listen to, since this is the last episode of the year, you can check out our top 5 Christmas movie episode that we did a few days ago, as well as our The Whale review that is spoiler free for everyone to listen to, and our Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special review as well. And you can also check out my solo review of House of the Dragon. The 4K Blu-ray release came out a few days ago. So I reviewed the picture, the audio, the packaging, the special features, the whole 9 in that video, or excuse me, not video, but audio podcast for all of our listeners out there. And yeah, that pretty much does it for this year. Thank you all so much for joining us for another year of the podcast. This is our 3rd, 4th ish year doing this, but I want to thank you guys so much just for being a part of our journey, for being a part of our community. We would not be here without you guys. And thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And we hope you guys have a wonderful day. We wish you the happiest of holidays to you and your family.
I also just wanted to give a thanks to Allied real quick. If anyone from there is listening, they've been a great help. We finally got some screenings to go to in Cleveland. Didn't know they had an office here, but it's been a game changer for us.
It really, it's helped out so much. It's so great. And also, I mean, thank you to Warner Brothers, HBO for, sending out review copies for the amazing movies that they've been pumping out and TV shows they've been pumping out within the past 2 years. Yeah, we're just very grateful. It's Christmas time. So we're at holiday time all together. So
also I forgot to mention earlier, but I watched American Psycho last night.
Oh,
it's a Christmas movie.
Is it?
Yep.
Oh boy.
Takes place during Christmas time. They go to a Christmas party. Yep.
Oh, I gotta watch.
I'm calling it a Christmas movie now.
I have so many things to watch. I got to get on it. Well, I mean, watching 10 episodes of Doom Patrol, that takes a lot out of you, but it was so good. So with all that said, again, thank you all for listening. We'll be back next year. Thank you to all of our amazing listeners out there. Thank you to Allied. Thank you to Warner Brothers, HBO, all that jazz. My name is Christian. That was Devin. We'll see you guys next year and have a happy, safe New Year's as well. So see you guys next year.
Peace.